A woman finds her husband dead and calls the police. She's brought in for questioning so the police can get the details of their case. But what comes out may paint her as more than just a grieving widow.
My husband's laying in the middle of the floor and he's not moving. I don't know if he's alive and I haven't been ransacked. Please, dead. I think he's dead. I think my husband might be dead, but if you hurry, maybe he's alive and you can help. Okay, ma'am, we have the rescue is responding right now. We love each other. This man is my life. I understand, ma'am. I can't live without this man. Okay, he loves me and I love him. And this cannot be happening. There's no way.
Just like Mom, Cody, and Dad loved you. Nobody loved you anymore or any less.
I'm telling you right now, I do not think you're a murderer.
I don't think that you're a bad person, and something got out of control, and we needed to know where she's at.
All I want from you
February 3, 2008. Larry Fenton is shot in his own home during what appears to be a burglary. His wife, Rebecca, claims to have been working out in their detached garage that they had converted into a gym. She is the first to find the body and calls the police. Soon after, she is brought into the police station to field questions that could help find the perpetrator.
General information from you,
Do you have any answers? Have you found anything else?
Not yet, no. I haven't, I don't have any information. The other officers are out on the scene doing what they have to do. Okay?
The lady said that it was going to take some time.
Yes, it will. It usually, forensics comes out there, they do the processing, and
It really doesn't matter if he's gone. Do we have an idea, anything? Neighbors? Did anybody?
the other officers are out there talking to the neighbors. They're doing canvassing, but they haven't gotten back to me yet. So there's more going on at the scene.
Right.
No, that's okay.
When this incident happened, we have an in-law apartment in the back that we turned into a gym. I was in the gym, in our gym, when this happened.
She seems genuinely grieving and upset over a tragedy that has happened to her.
Yeah, if I was doing the interview, I would say the crying, the going for the Kleenex. It's hard to see the facial expression from the camera angle, but it would be a witness statement at this point in time if you didn't know anything else.
It's important to also take note of this being her baseline. This is how she's coming in, so any changes that happen will give us some more insight as to what she might be thinking and how she might be implicated in the crime.
I don't, but my friend can tell you what time I called her. And the police would have the record what time I called them. I was sitting on the ball when I heard a noise. But it didn't sound like a pop. It sounded like somebody dropped something. And I also had music on real loud. So I continued to keep working out, and then all of a sudden I was like, and I wasn't concerned. I just was.
You heard something that sounded like you said it dropped.
It dropped.
Now,
Something fell off the roof.
Was it one noise? Was it several noises?
No, it was one.
Depends on the insulation value of the home and the walls of the gymnasium. Sometimes it sounds like a pop. If it's a pistol and it's at close range, the sound is actually much less than you think when there's something to absorb the sound going around. I've heard many gunshots, and I have never heard what I would say is a loud gunshot unless I'm at the firing range. That's loud. When it's in a home or there's trees or wind, sometimes it just sounds like two rocks going together. So it's not uncommon for a civilian to say that was something dropping off a roof onto the ground. Very common. Gunshots go off all the time, and people will turn and go, "What was that?"
And I kept on doing my sit-ups. And then I realized, I was like, yeah, let me go check on him. But it wasn't because of the noise. Periodically, we just check on each other.
Okay. From the gym, what route did you take?
Walked into the back door.
Okay.
My husband was laying in the foyer. There was blood everywhere. He was laying down. Okay.
Is the back door open or shut?
Do you mean open, not locked?
Open, standing open?
No, it was shut, but it was not locked.
The front door locked?
The front door was not locked unless he got it to lock it, which I doubt because I walked out the front door to go out to my car.
Well, when you're trying to prove if this was a forced entry or someone who had access to the home, the door part of it is very important as to whether there was forced entry or not. If there's no forced entry on a locked door, it happened inside.
So thus far, it's believable to me. I am impressed with the way she modulates her emotions, feeling almost a sense of anguish, but quickly comes back and responds to specific questions. This would be consistent with someone who's been in a traumatic situation.
And at this point, she's just a witness. She's not a suspect. There's no Miranda issue going on. So, like you said, Toby, I find nothing glaring at this point in time to say, oh, gonna do this. She's a witness.
If it's someone that is capable of having emotions about something like this and feeling any sort of remorse, they're still going to experience the similar kinds of trauma and trauma responses from seeing a dead body.
In shock. It could be in shock as well. So.
The reason that we bought it was because, and again, I'm guessing 3 or 4 months ago, and I have a couple of friends that can confirm the date.
Okay.
Some whack job ended up seeing me at the grocery store and started following me, giving me a hard time. Showed up at a meeting one time. I filed a report. Also, I told him I was being harassed, and he said that counted as a report. And to just watch my back. And he asked, I carry mace.
Okay.
I showed him my mace.
And the first time...
Can you give your report number?
No, I'm trying to remember if he gave me a card, though.
Did he take a report?
He didn't. We stood talking on the street because I asked him, I parked my car by the courthouse to go talk to the police about this guy that was continuously bothering me. And I was like, yeah, I need to talk to somebody about somebody who's harassing me.
At this point, if you're the interviewers, you're thinking she has drifted completely away from the fact her husband was fatally shot. She is now really talking about herself, in my opinion, way too much after you find your husband dead in the foyer of your home.
And very quickly, early on in the interrogation, this came up. So she's starting to lead them in a direction. She's starting to hopefully get them to draw a conclusion.
And what she's doing is by shifting the focus and speaking openly, she's in some way diffusing the emotionality of the situation and directing it to her so-called stalker. And she feels comfortable doing this. She's changed the subject. She could probably talk about herself for hours and feel good about it.
All right, let's keep going.
But I want to file a restraining order. I never filed a restraining order before. And he told me, you know who the guy is, you know.
Tell me a little bit about this guy. You said the first time you noticed him was in the grocery store?
He was bigger than I was, and he never quit smiling. And the only thing that came out of his mouth is, I just want to talk to you. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Okay.
If you looked at me, you'd think he was a normal guy.
Okay.
Except that he had this goofy smile.
So that's when he first...
This whack guy had something to do with it. We haven't had any problems with him. I haven't seen him in...
When did you see this guy again?
Outside of the Serenity Club, which is an Alcoholics Anonymous.
Does he go there?
No. And he was in a black, brand new, gorgeous, black gold.
And what happened that day?
He pulled up alongside of me and said, I've been looking all over for you.
We know police don't ask questions they often don't already have the answers to. So when they're asking about this person and she says, well, I filed a restraining order, they would know if that was the case. She's obviously leading this discussion, as we've talked about. They're going to verify not just who that person is that would be following her, but also his whereabouts at the time of the murder.
And the fact that she keeps talking about this goofy smile.
And it's also ego building for her. I was the most beautiful woman he ever seen.
Yeah.
He's smiling at me. It's making her this model, this beautiful woman.
And this is the story she's trying to sell them. And thus far, it looks like she has. It'd be interesting to see if they try and steer her back or they just let her run.
All right, let's keep rolling.
Never saw the guy again.
When was this? Is this recently?
Fairly recently, because that's when we bought the gun.
Rebecca Fenton is being questioned after finding her husband, Larry Fenton, shot dead in their home. She's been very open with answering any questions the police have, but steers the conversation more to her own life and her potential stalker than to the crime itself.
Never saw the guy again.
When was this? Is this recently?
Fairly recently, because that's when we bought the gun. He suggested that we buy a gun.
Who suggested you buy a gun?
Officer Fowler.
Told you to buy a gun?
Wait a minute, let me be clear. He wanted to know why we didn't have a gun in our house. He asked if we had a gun, and I said, no, my husband and I don't have a gun. He goes, your husband travels as much as you do, and you don't have a firearm? And I said, no.
The right to bear arms under the U.S. Constitution is a very, very strong piece in the United States, obviously. So this doesn't shock me at all, but then I have to look at the area, the jurisdiction, and the legal aspects of the United States law on handgun control.
I thought it was very interesting, too, that she wants us to see, she wants the interrogators to see that she is a detail-oriented person, because she checked herself and said, no, he didn't really say it that way. This is the way he said it. He implied, oh, you don't have a gun. So I think it's important for her that they see her as a person who is cooperative, who has a very good knowledge of the details.
I actually like this because she's being so exact on this, and then they're going to rebound this to the scene of the crime.
And it should be interesting to watch how she emotionally reacts differently when she gets to that part.
Who purchased the gun?
My husband did. Larry bought a gun because...
But you guys specifically bought the gun because of this creepo that was following you.
We did, but it also, Larry says, you know, I'm out of town so much, it's a good idea. And we had to talk it over because I didn't agree. We didn't disagree about it, but I didn't necessarily agree with it. I guess because all of my life, people, when I lived alone, people are like, I don't think it's a good idea to get a gun.
So you don't know how to shoot a gun? You haven't ever?
And when Larry brought it home, he unzipped it. It made me very uncomfortable. He unzipped the case. He showed it to me. He said, I'll take you down to the gun range. I'll show you exactly how to use it. You'll feel very comfortable with it, you know.
Okay. Did you remember at all handling this gun at all?
No.
Okay, so you've never put your hands on the gun?
Oh, I did when he showed it to me, yes.
Where did you guys keep it in the house?
We kept it in our armoire, in our bedroom, in the third drawer on the left side.
Okay, was it in a gun case?
It was in like a canvas.
Did it come with the gun? In other words, or was it just a canvas case that you guys...
No, I think that it came with the gun.
Okay, do you keep it loaded or not loaded?
I don't know. I don't know if it was or if it wasn't. I didn't pay attention.
Okay. Do you remember where he kept the bullets?
I know the bullets weren't kept in the drawer because I do the laundry. And I put his laundry away. There was no bullets.
She would know where at the very least, she would know, well, I know where the gun is, I know where the bullets are. Even if she didn't necessarily know whether it was kept loaded, she would know. And that's what that officer is trying to get at, right?
Yeah.
In an emergency, what would you do? And she's saying, well, I'd go and I'd get the gun.
And are you capable of using it? Are you familiar with it? I think I would do my best.
Okay. Let's roll it.
Where does he keep the keys for the chief?
There's an old antique desk in our dining room.
Is that on the first floor or the second floor?
On the first floor.
It's in an antique desk in the dining room.
Yeah, he keeps that. He keeps his wallet.
How many people know where you keep your keys?
Me and my husband.
Nobody else?
No.
And where are your sets?
I have a set on me. I have a set on me.
Oh, Okay.
And I have an extra set that's also in that antique desk.
Did you have those keys on you today, or did you take them when you left?
I took them when I came in, and I grabbed them off the kitchen counter. When I realized that my house had been ransacked, I ran upstairs. When I saw how bad it was, my first thought was, I better get out of here.
Where was your house ransacked at?
Where?
The whole house, or any particular?
The living room. I noticed that the living room was, my bedroom was, our bedroom was, but especially my husband's office. And I went to reach on the floor for the phone because that's where all of our numbers are. And I was like, let me get out of here. So I went out.
What floor did you go to?
The second floor.
Okay, so you came in, you
Saw
saw
my
him.
husband. I felt her pulse.
And then you went upstairs?
Yes, I did.
What'd you go upstairs for?
Because when I turned the corner and saw the living room had been ransacked, I went upstairs to see what the hell had happened.
Okay.
And I yelled. I said, I'm loaded. I have the police following me. So if you're in my house, you better come out now.
Yes, panic, stress can cause people to do different things, but to run upstairs in a house that possibly has an invader in it, you're not armed. Maybe she thought that was, I'm going up to get the gun, which I think she hinted at. But that would be the most stupid thing in the world you could do in a home that possibly still had criminals in it. This is very bizarre, and to not call 911 immediately.
But wouldn't you expect she'd run out of the house?
First thing I think of in cases that we've reviewed is people try to either call police, perform first aid, or run outside to the neighbors to call for help.
Yeah.
So for her to claim she's not familiar with the gun, but for that to be her first thought, where she's previously stated, I don't really know where the bullets are, I don't even know if it's loaded, is very unlikely. Yes, people panic, but generally speaking, there's some sort of reflex, right? You go to what you know, and that is not something that she knows.
Roll the tape.
Okay, then when did you call 911?
I thought the house had been ransacked. I ran back down. I checked my husband again for a pulse.
Did he have a pulse the first time?
I couldn't tell.
What about the second time?
I didn't feel one, but I didn't know if I was feeling in the right place.
Okay,
I got out of the house. I went to my car, which was in the driveway. I opened up the door, and I called you guys.
Let me get, when you checked him, you just checked his pulse?
His eyes were open. I checked here.
Was he face up or face down?
He was face down.
Face down?
Blood all around him.
How was his head? Was his head down or to the
His
side?
head was to the side, and his eyes were open, and that's what made me think that maybe he was alive, and if I could get an ambulance out there fast enough, maybe we could save his life.
So what they're gaining from this piece of it here is that he is laying down, head to the side. To a police officer, he's been shot in the back. It looks like he's trying to flee the house or run, possibly, from someone. That would mean the perpetrator would have had to come in through the back. She comes and looks, is stumbling over the taking of the pulse, and goes out to her car to call 911 after going upstairs and coming down. These circumstances are bizarre, to say the least, and she seems to me to be stumbling over how she took the pulse and what she was doing at that time.
And we're seeing more emotionality as she has to deal with the details of what actually happened. Now she has to make it up as she goes along.
Yeah.
Yep.
She'd much prefer the story about the stalker.
Yeah, the vagueness is coming into her story.
That's
suddenly.
right. And the emotionality is used to cover up the lie.
Okay. So you checked his pulse? Did you?
I checked his neck. When I came back down the stairs, I checked his arm. And then I thought it was a good idea if I got out of the house, just call the police.
Okay. You didn't try CPR, didn't try to revive him?
No, I didn't. I didn't think it was a good idea to touch anything.
Why didn't you think it was a good idea to move him?
Because I just watched too much TV, and it's like, don't touch, don't disturb.
What kind of TV would tell you that?
Just, I don't know, CSI, I guess.
This is a very bizarre statement. Searching for an excuse as to why she didn't do the right thing with her husband's body is because I watched CSI.
I think we're dealing with a person who's making this up as she goes along. I think she sees that there are certain weaknesses in her story, and she's pleading ignorance for why she didn't immediately call 911 and why she didn't attempt to provide some aid to her husband who was lying there. She's trying to cover up the emotionality of the lie by being in a state of anguish and confusion, and on television they told me not to do this.
She doesn't want to believe evidence on the body.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, she wouldn't want to leave evidence on the body as well.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why she would leave the body as is.
Yeah.
However, if you were leaving DNA evidence there, you could say, well, I tried to revive them. I was holding this person. That's why, you know, he would see my fingerprints there or what have you.
It's the opposite response of why you watch CSI. She's trying to avoid doing anything to incriminate herself.
Larry Fenton is murdered in his home. Rebecca, his wife, is brought in to speak with the police as the investigation kicks off. She appears incredibly detail-oriented around all the questions that don't pertain to the investigation at hand, but loses that quality when it comes to remembering this more immediate event.
So if we look at their body language, everyone seems relatively relaxed. We have both of the officers leaning in to show interest in their story. And we have our suspect at this point who's feigning that she's a victim, who is sitting compliant with her hands under the table. A lot of the times, hands are actually a tell for how somebody is feeling, regardless of whether it's in an interrogation or if someone is in a job interview or if they're just talking to you like this, right? It can be a tell. So she's hiding something that could potentially be a tell here. We'll see sound panels on here. It's a very plain room.
I think you brought up the acoustic panels.
Yep.
We don't see that in this day and age.
Not often, no.
The reason being is that in 2008, the technology to record the sounds in that room would not have been as good as they are today. You would have had echo and reverb coming off of the walls. So they installed acoustic panels in interview rooms to make the recordings clearer, because these recordings end up in court. People will wonder why they're there.
All right, roll tape, please.
And the reason I ask is, canvassing the neighborhoods, and people said that your appearance has changed slightly in the past year. You're a lot thinner in the face, and...
Well, I quit drinking 3 years ago, so maybe it's from the bloating. But I've always weighed 122 pounds, and I fluctuate between 120.
But you were bloated before? Is that...
Bloated in the face from drinking alcohol, yeah.
Okay.
I think the officer is implying here that she may have changed her appearance as a result of committing the crime. The defense that she provides could be reasonable, but it's interesting because this also shows that the police have been talking to her neighbors. In the back of her mind, she's probably wondering, what did my neighbors say?
If it was my question, I'd be asking that so that it would plant a seed of doubt in her mind about, oh, what did they talk to my neighbors about? You're giving her a reason to start drifting mentally now about what did I do, what did they see, what would possibly they have told the police about me.
Did you get any phone calls during that time period you were home, or make any phone calls?
Did I make any phone calls? No, I did get a phone call from a girl that I sponsor, and I told, as a matter of fact, I was in the gym when I got the call.
Is there a phone in the gym, or she called your cell phone?
I called my cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah, she acknowledged that she reached for her pocket to show us where her cell phone would normally be.
But here's a crucial point in this. If she was working out and had her phone with her and talked to her AA sponsor, fled into the house after hearing these loud noises, sees her husband laying in a pool of blood, and doesn't pull the phone out of her pocket, makes up a story about looking at his phone for contacts or something, and then going out to the car to get her phone, it's lie after lie after lie.
You know, I said, is this important? Do you think you're going to drink? Are you having any problems? What do you got them feeling? She goes, no, I'm just checking in with you.
Okay.
And I said, listen, I'm working out right now.
That's
She
the
goes,
same girl you were with earlier?
no, this is a different one. I know this AA thing's confusing. I work with a lot of different girls. Anyways, I told Gail, I said, well, if you can wait, I said, I'm in the middle of a workout, and I said, if you give me about 20 minutes, I said, when I
Okay,
can...
just stop the tape for a second. Now, again, she's leading us away from the crime scene. She's going into a lot of detail. She's feeling very comfortable talking about her role as a sponsor, the people she's talking to on the phone, and she would like to talk about this rather than talking about her story, which seems to be getting weaker all the time.
One-on-one, we'll talk. And she was like, yeah, it's nothing important.
Okay. So this is just a quick conversation while you were in the gym?
Yeah, it was like, you know, you gonna drink? If you're not gonna drink, and, you know, you're not flipping off the walls and flipping in or whatever, and everything's okay, I do care, but let me finish my workout and I'll give you a call.
Right, okay.
Your husband, you went out to work out, your husband was downstairs, right?
He was sitting on the right-hand side of the couch. He had his feet up on the coffee table. I came down. I said, I'm going to go work out. You doing okay? Everything's fine. I love you.
Did you, when you went out to the gym, did you ever come back in again?
Yeah, and checked on him.
And how long was that before this incident?
Maybe half an hour. Every half an hour, 40 minutes, we kind of come and find each other.
So the person that ransacked the place probably killed him first, you think?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's clear at this point that the officers consider her a suspect. So when they're asking this question, they're not asking her as a victim of a crime. They're asking her as someone who potentially committed the crime. Essentially, did you kill him before or after staging this ransacking robbery? This is something she clearly hasn't given any thought to.
If you notice the previous setup question just before that about how often did you check on each other? Every 30 minutes or so, we would check on each other. I think the reason she stalled on this is that, well, it would have taken this guy over 30 minutes to steal all this stuff and move it out of the house, shoot my husband.
There's no way that you could have torn that house to smithereens without Larry knowing it. And the way that he was laying, he must have heard somebody come in the door because it looked where he was laying like, not maybe there was a confrontation, but he came into the foyer. There's no reason for him to come in the foyer unless he was crossing over the kitchen to get something to eat.
I'm just trying to understand is what type of person would shoot somebody, make that noise, and then take time to ransack a house.
I don't know.
What kind of person are you? That's what that question asks. What kind of person would do this? And the whole time she's thinking, I would, but she's trying not to say that. Well, you'll notice she hasn't talked about what Larry was like. She hasn't framed him as someone who was successful, who had a lot of money. She's not framing him as someone who has anything desirable that people would want. And she's doing that very carefully. She doesn't want to lead them to her real motive, which is, I wanted his money. I wanted his life insurance policy. I wanted all of the things that he had.
Well, it's the least amount I've ever seen an interview where the victim isn't mentioned. The least amount. There's no mention of Larry except 3 or 4 times in the whole hour.
And they say, what kind of person? They're challenging her story. Yeah. They're saying, in effect, we don't believe you, and we can expect more defensiveness on her part.
So the stalker theory, or the person following her, is her alibi or her excuse as to how her husband got killed. She thought, in her weak mind, that this would have just been accepted and the police would have run off and tried to find this imaginary person, and she's home free. Vehicles gone full of stolen stuff. That's not occurring now. They're starting to ask other questions. The stalker isn't even mentioned. It's about who did this, and you're right about, I'm asking questions about you, but I'm saying someone else. They're doing the, who would do this? Who would do that? She's trying so hard now to think about what I screwed up on, with the neighbors seeing me, with my time, with my phone mistake. She's in a mess, and the stalker thing is completely off the table.
So
I doubt if it'll be mentioned again.
And so her focus is not on really what's going on. Her focus is on, what do I say to these questions? And her answers will become weaker and weaker.
It isn't uncommon for a stalker to then try to kill out of this obsession, kill any sort of romantic partner that the person they're focused on has out of a jealousy, this passion and this need, this obsession to be with this person. But in this case, she hasn't said anything about being afraid for her own safety. That is something that we would absolutely see. She would have brought that up while she's talking about the actual crime happening at that moment. But no, she brought it up beforehand. She wants the police to make that kind of a connection. She's tried to blatantly say, you don't think he could have done this, do you?
I would be asking for police protection if I was her, if I believed
Am I in danger too?
This person existed who had just killed my husband. I'm either next or he's going to come and take me away.
Maybe she had a safety plan in place where if something happened, she goes to certain neighbors. She's shown them photos of the person and said, if you see this car or if you see this person, I need you to call police. You know, there are things that people do to protect themselves.
Locking doors and then forcing the forced entry. These doors were all wide open, according to her. So there was no protecting
if she really felt in danger,
well, there was no protecting yourself.
She'd be out the door.
It's an open house policy, according to what she said. So a stalker or the person following her, you would have locked the doors even in the gym, forcing him to have to force his way in to get you. Doesn't seem like that was a concern to her.
Yeah.
As Rebecca Fenton continues to be questioned about the circumstances of her husband, Larry Fenton's murder, her side of events are becoming less believable. She originally seemed to have a possible culprit in mind, but he's been dropped from the conversation, and the police appear to be looking at her as more than just the grieving widow.
They knocked things over, knocked over big items, tipped things over.
Yeah, it looked like the living room, the stereo system had been knocked over. I can remember that. Drawers pulled out.
But nothing was taken. The stereo was still there. The TV was still there.
From my antique store, we've got 3 pieces that could be his retirement, for God's sake.
And that was still there?
There were paintings in there that are worth $17,000 to $25,000. This person didn't know they were antiques.
You have an ex-husband?
No,
any
I've never been.
Boyfriends around here? Anything?
Ex-boyfriends?
Anybody that's jealous about you and him?
I'm going to be honest with you. Before I met Larry 6 years ago, I was involved with a woman for a couple of years. She was, we split up. We had been split up for 6 months, and then I met Larry at the gym. She wasn't crazy, 3 years later when she found out that I was getting married, but not enough to hurt her or any of that. As a matter of fact, within the last year, we've become friends.
To me, if this was a crime worth committing a murder over, they were after more than junk. So this is going to automatically come back to someone familiar with the house, someone staging a crime, someone faking everything around the purpose of murdering him.
You know, it's strange that Larry's Jeep was found only a block away from their house and with all of the things that were stolen still inside of it.
Extremely strange. I'm perplexed why they haven't brought this out in the interview. To me, that vehicle is so critical to this.
And in addition to where they parked the vehicle, there's the issue of the keys. They made a big deal about the keys. Who has the keys? Are there separate keys?
Well, she said that. Only us would know where those keys
That's
are.
Right.
And that would tell me that it was an inside job. Either she hired someone to do it or she's involved with this.
So if they were listening very closely, there are a number of errors she is making. That's why she'd prefer to talk about the stalker. She'd prefer to talk about the woman that she was involved with.
Well, there's an ethical piece to this where you have a victim. She is the spouse of someone who's been murdered. So you're not going to use the good guy, the bad woman cop here. That's not going to happen in all probability. They're just going to slowly wear her down and let her trick herself to the point. And with the vehicle, with the keys, with the timing, with the 911, all of the issues that we've noted so far in what she's given is enough for me to go book her, Daniel.
That's right. Let's roll it.
You haven't had any lesbian relationships while you've been married to him, have you?
No,
not at all.
Okay. There's been absolutely no fidelity on my part, and I am 100% positive, none on Larry's.
And you can't think of anybody who would want to either hurt you or your husband?
No. I recently did a health segment that was shown on TV, and everybody saw it because it was on the news, where when I do commercials, I keep my modeling since I don't do it very often. Yesterday, like I said, I went and had my car detailed, and I had a complete stranger say, "Didn't I see you?" But I don't go in Alcoholics Anonymous and tell people that I'm low. If they're like, "Didn't I see you on a boat commercial?" It's like, I don't know. You can't believe everything you see, and I kind of wonder.
Stop the tape for a second. This is her in her comfort zone again. Talking about herself.
Yeah.
She can't go anywhere and not be recognized. And she feels confident about this. She feels like a very important person as a result of this. And this is what she wants to steer the conversation toward.
We saw a similar approach when she was talking about this potential stalker, right? She kept focusing on the details and on, he had this smile, this creepy smile. He was always smiling, again with the smile. And here she's saying, well, they keep noticing me. They're like, oh, did I see you on this? Did I see you on that? She tends to repeat herself a lot when she's talking about something about herself.
Safe topic for her.
It's a safe topic for her, absolutely.
Roll the tape.
What are you gonna do with my husband's body?
Do you have prearranged funeral arrangement?
He told me that if anything ever happened to him, and we were talking like years from now, that there's a chip in my house, and he told me to give it to Terry if Terry was still alive. If Terry wasn't alive, give it to the second in command.
So that was your will is on all that and everything like that?
I should have really had a will. I know what his wishes were, but we were to be cremated and taken back to St. Thomas, and a couple of here and a couple of sprinkles there, and then save some. And so that when I went, have them come by. But we were talking like this guy was going to live till he was 90. I have 2 calls over at, for Terry. I'm waiting for him to call back.
Do you have Terry's number in your phone?
It's in Larry's phone.
Okay.
And I could just hit a button, but I don't have it.
Okay.
So not crazy. I just remember sort of my head leaving my body, but I'm not in.
Well, excuse me, just one more second. Wasn't she saying that she's got Larry or somebody's phone number right on her phone? She just has to push the button? And yet she told us earlier that all the important numbers were in his phone, that she had to find his phone to know where the numbers are. So we're seeing more and more mental errors on her part.
She has been careful, though, when they ask about the will, not to give up any information about her motives. If there's any motive of money, life insurance policy, that kind of a thing, she hasn't let that up. She's focusing on, well, he wanted to be cremated. It was out of my hands. It's supposed to go to this one person, and if not that person, someone else. So
years down the road.
Yeah, years down the road. He's supposed to live till he's at least 90. So, yeah, she's done a good job of trying to distance herself from any sort of potential motive.
Yeah, I know where everything is. I know it's on this, where it is. This is what we talked about down the road. We talked about this down the road. She always grilled him before she killed him about where's our finances at.
But we were never happy with the new neighbors that moved in behind us. I don't know how to explain it, but we just had a funny feeling we were going to have some problems with them. Not an altercation, but I'm fixing an engine and starting it up in the middle of the night, and I grew up hillbilly, so I just want to say that. And it's basically what moved in behind us. So we just thought we were going to end up with some problems there.
So
I really don't want to say that that's a wild guess, because I just don't think that, I don't have a wild guess. I can't accuse somebody of something like this unless I've got an idea that it could.
I'm not asking you to accuse anybody. I'm saying, can you give us anything? Any idea? I mean, you're telling us everything was perfect. You had no friends. Nobody came over. Nobody seen the inside of your house. Did you bring any of these people over that you were helping?
Once, yes. One of the girls.
How long ago?
Oh, gosh, 2 years ago. Very first girl.
Anybody recently?
No. The girls that I'm working with.
Did Alex know where you live?
No.
What about the other girl?
Gail?
No. Okay.
No. These girls came from a much less fortunate lifestyle than I did, and the reason I didn't bring them by wasn't because I thought that they would hurt us or anything, but it was because I wanted them to feel that we were equal, so I would always meet them in a coffee shop or in an AA room. I didn't want them to see my stuff and feel that I was better than they was. That was the purpose of all of that.
You have a life insurance policy?
I think Larry does, yes.
For how much?
I don't know.
Who's the beneficiary?
I think I am because I'm his wife.
You're not sure?
Rebecca Fenton has spent much of her time with the police talking about matters involving herself rather than the murder of her husband, Larry Fenton. As the questions wind down, this may prove to just be laying the groundwork for a much longer investigation.
I would leave that interview room at this point hoping I got something on the gun residue or some other evidence, because that interview, in my mind, gave me nothing concrete to take forward.
So this woman went 5 years before she was found guilty, or at least found to be in a position where they could arrest her for this crime.
Her having a boyfriend much later and saying, oh, I could kill you like I killed my husband, that broke this open. It was nothing to do with the interview, nothing to do with their scene investigation. Without something glaring, you can't go push the buttons too hard.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking about where they could have pushed, and in hindsight, when they had asked about her contacts at AA, and they had asked about whether anyone had ever come to the house, had any knowledge maybe of how well off she was, that would have been a great time to push just a little bit.
Looking back, we should have been done different, but at that time, she was the grieving widow without enough circumstantial evidence to push her in that, what we can do as police officers when we're nasty, and we can be nasty. They were not nasty with her.
And that's something that you have to do. And so, yeah, we're not advocating for pushing everyone regardless.
What? We should.
No, no, we shouldn't.
Okay, I think we see a situation of a person very self-centered who probably cares much more about herself than other people. She went about this for a very selfish reason, but was not completely successful in terms of didn't stick the landing, found herself in trouble, and we got to see the consequences of it.
Absolutely.